Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Boy Warden and welcome to a product review stroke tutorial on this one just here. It is the Mr. Paint Remover. Nice little product by Mr. Hobby there. It's around about just under £4 a pop for 40 mils of it. Now, sadly, sometimes you may need to, for whatever reason, remove the paint. You've made a mistake, maybe the paint's cracked or something, and instead of buying a new kit, remove the paint and maybe start spraying again. Other things as well, I mean, miniatures. I mean, sometimes actually if you look around on eBay you can find nice miniatures, whatever subject it might be, and somebody maybe have painted them, maybe they've not done quite a good job of it, so they're just selling them, and you can buy them in kind of actually quite cheap. All you got to do is remove the paint, but you've got to be careful because yes, there's lots of products out there that can remove paint, but you don't want it to sort of damage the plastic. You don't want it to start actually melting the plastic and going too far. So I've got some example pieces just here. We have our Vulcan, right? Now a good test for this is like paint that has had several layers, gloss coats, has had days, months or whatever to actually cure, just to sort of give it a good test. So got some good examples on here as well as a figure just over there. So we'll start off over here. This is maybe going to be the atypical kind of thing that we might be removing. This has had a lot of time to dry. I've put like messed about with natural metal finishes as well as using acrylics, and there's lacquer based natural metal finishes on here. I've sealed them in with gloss coats. I've then put matte coats on top, so it's had the works. Now with these kind of things we just start off with actually softening it up and breaking down the paint. So plain and simply, we can just apply this with, say, a paintbrush like so, right? Kind of like a thick layer, right? I mean, this stuff is designed not to just evaporate straight away, so you'll find it's got a little bit of thickness to it, which is what you want, because you don't want it to just evaporate, right? Because it's not going to be able to do its work. It's going to stick around for a while on the surface to actually have that time to break it down and all that good stuff. So we'll leave that for a bit. Miniatures, really good one just here when it comes to things like miniatures. You know, as I say, you might have brought something off eBay and you might want to just get something nice and cheap. Again, same sort of thing. You want to sort of brush this on fairly thick, right, just like we've done there, and then you just want to leave it to just start to break down. These things aren't just going to instantly happen, right, especially the ones where you don't want it to damage the plastic. So maybe we just sort of leave this for maybe a minute or two. It doesn't need masses amounts of time. You don't need to leave it overnight or anything like that. Give it just a minute or two and we'll probably start to sort of break it down a bit more. Now I haven't cut away for that long actually. I've just quickly tested to make sure it's ready, and after like literally a minute ago, before I just cut away, this is now starting to break down. So I'm just dipping back into our Mr. Paint Remover, and just to sort of give it a little bit more, and as you could see, as we sort of brush at it and aggravate it, you could start to see that it is just coming up off of the paintwork. So that's getting pretty close now, but we can just, you know, maybe apply another coat just on top just to make sure it all gets nicely aggravated and starts really working into it. We could come back to our miniature just here again. Oh, I'm just going to clean my paintbrush off because I don't want to completely contaminate my pot. But again, I've dipped in again just to come in basically with another coat, but I'm just going to try and sort of see, aggravate it a little bit, right, and hopefully you can just see that this second coat and actually brushing it with a paintbrush, we can actually start to see, you know, the plastic underneath, right? So it is really starting to work. But yeah, let's just leave that a little bit longer to sort of, again, you want it to soften up and really get in there, right? Now I want to bring your attention to this. This is probably going to be the hardest for paint removers to do, and it's this kind of surface that I've got here. This was done for because I was messing about with these natural metal finish powders, which are really cool, but for that kind of stuff, you know, it's to prep the surface with a nice black surface that I've glossed the absolute hell out of it, loads and loads of layers of gloss. I've even come along and I've polished it so it feels so smooth. That kind of surface is going to be something that's quite hard for this to actually break down, but really the process is the same. If I kind of just find a little spot here, right, the process is the same. Whack this stuff on. The only difference is, because it's a harder surface for anything to sort of break it down, because it's so high gloss finish and so polished and stuff, it's the same process as I'm showing you. The only difference is you've just kind of got to let it work in there a bit more. Sort of maybe you're going to have to put maybe 2 or 3 coats on top for it before it breaks down. So we'll leave that a bit. Right, now we're coming straight back to this, so this is looking good now. You might sort of look at the surface, and in the light, there you go, you can see how it's starting to bubble up, right, and that's what you want to see. So this is probably the point at which I come in, you know, some sort of brush, old brush, some sort of hard bristle, kind of a dry brush kind of thing, you know, maybe a little bit bigger to help you sort of work the way through, and really we can just start to just really kind of like rub into this and work into it just like so, right. Really trying to work into those recessed panel lines as well, right, because we don't want it being left behind in those areas, right, as you can see just there. Now, yes, I mean, this is a bit of work, you know, there isn't no miracle spray that you spray on and it just, the paintwork just disappears. There's nothing like that. I mean, these solutions are all about breaking down the paint so as you can clean it up without messing up the plastic, right? And hence there is a cleaning up process. So as you can see, that sort of broke that down. This is where you can start coming in with things like kitchen paper towels, right, and actually start wiping away this nasty stuff. Right, now as a bit of a tip, right, you don't want to be going off and sort of constantly using the Mr. Paint Remover, especially at this stage. So I like to come in with good old homebrew thinners, IPA, something like that, something that's really sort of cheap that you can just put on a kitchen paper towel, right, and you can just start rubbing this off a lot easier, right, and as you can see, that is nicely coming away. What you may have left over is, yes, you've got I mean, most of this is off now, but you know, you've got your recessed panel lines and all that kind of stuff, so you may want to come along and do a final sort of, after you've got most of it off, that final little dip back into your paint remover, right, and you know, kind of just maybe come in with maybe toothbrushes just to try and sort of start working into those recessed panel lines, recessed rivets, right. Hopefully you can sort of start seeing them sort of disappearing, as you can see. And then we give that like another wipe, and there we go, we start to sort of see that come out of the recessed panel lines and all nice and sort of clear. Again, you could come in with some more IPA and just kind of finish wiping it off, but that's what you sort of end up with basically. I mean, the more you sort of clean it, the better it gets, but I can feel the recessed panel lines, they're good, but what you're looking for is to feel the surface, even dig your nail into it, just to make sure that the plastic hasn't gone soft, right, because that's what some solutions will do. What you want to avoid those solutions where it starts making the plastic all soft. So if you stick your nail into it, you leave a nail print behind, but no, that plastic is absolutely fine. Just coming back over to here to the high gloss, right, again, as I say, you're probably going to have to put a couple of coats on this, so I'm going to just whack on another coat. And as you can see, putting this coat on, not quite breaking it down yet, you can't see it quite bubbling up, right, but yeah, keep adding those coats and it will start to break it down and clean it up like I've just shown you. Coming back to our miniature just here, right, if we sort of maybe get some clean remover on our paintbrush, this should probably break down even more, which it is nicely. This is where I like to come in with a toothbrush, right, because it's things like miniatures, lots and lots of, like, you know, arms, legs, and lots of tiny details, right. Coming in with the brush, I mean, this is where you kind of get it out of all the little recesses, because there is a lot going on there, as you can see, and it sort of gets rid of most of it. So you can almost see that that leg, if it focuses, that leg is almost sort of nicely all gone. Little tip that I like to do as well, again, IPA, but in an airbrush, right. Pour it in your airbrush, whack your air pressure right up, maybe put kitchen paper towels and down stuff, and I do like to actually go off, and we can just kind of blast the mess out of this, like so. And the IPA or homebrew finish just kind of blasts it out, and it gets it pretty nice and clean, right. Which, if you've ever tried to like do miniatures before, I know things like the white metal castings, you know, you can come along with some really strong stuff. You can actually leave it in there overnight, come along with a toothbrush, and it kind of cleans it up really good. You can't do it with plastic, it will eat into the plastic. So it is nice to have something where, you know, you can do that with plastic, get the same sort of results, but you haven't got to worry about the plastic getting all nastily, going all soft and starting to have sort of like a rough effect left over from it. Hopefully we can now come back, because I think we might be getting close with this high gloss finish that we've got going on here. Right, so let's come in. Do we need a third coat? Or, yeah, maybe. I'm trying to work into it a bit. We might need a bit more, maybe come in with the bigger bristles, but we are sort of getting close. There we go, coming with these bigger bristles, and as you can see, it's just that's coming off as well. It just takes a bit more time, a bit more coats, just to kind of break it down, you know, but it is all just the same. It's just, you know, things like high gloss finishes just take a bit more for it to like bite in there and all that good stuff. So you know, this is one of these products that sadly, hopefully, you will never need, but if you did, for whatever reason, whatever maybe mistake, or maybe trying to save yourself a little bit of money by buying something cheap off eBay and just removing the paint, for whatever reason, you know, if you want something, this is a good product to go out and get. You know, it's going to keep your plastic all nice and as if new. It does work, but no matter what you use, really, there is a cleanup process to any of these products. So yeah, definitely a well recommended product. Apart from that, until next time, as always, my name is Bob Warden, Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.